Hello, and welcome to Sleep Stories World. I'd like to invite you to step into a world of relaxation and tranquility with this bedtime story, designed to help you unwind and de-stress. By engaging in this story, you can embark on a journey that nurtures and soothes your mind, promoting overall well-being through sound, restful sleep. Before we begin, let's prepare your space for rest. Ensure you're somewhere comfortably cool, dark, and quiet. If you need to adjust anything, your curtains, your temperature, your pillows, please do so now. When you're ready, lie down and let yourself settle into your bed. Feel the weight of your body being supported. You may want to cover yourself with a light blanket as your body relaxes. Now, gently close your eyes. There's nothing you need to see anymore tonight. Your only task now is to be here, allowing yourself to receive the gift of rest. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Breathe in deeply, feeling your chest expand. Breathe out, feeling your body sink deeper into your bed. In and out. With each breath, you're signaling to your body that it's safe to rest. Now, imagine being surrounded by a warm, vibrant light. This light is gentle and comforting, carrying with it a deep sense of peace and safety. As you breathe in, let this warm light fill your chest. As you breathe out, imagine it spreading gently through your upper body. Breathe in, and let the light expand through your shoulders, your arms, your back. Breathe out, and feel it filling your stomach, your neck, your head, every space within you glowing softly. If a thought comes by, acknowledge it like watching a leaf float by on a gentle stream, and then let it drift away. There will be time for those thoughts later. Now is for rest. On your next breath in, let the warm light travel downward. Feel it reach your hips, your thighs, your knees. Breathe out, and sense it flowing down to your ankles, to your toes. Every part of you now is surrounded by this gentle, warm glow. You are completely enveloped in comfort and peace. Focus on your breath and the warm light surrounding you. If your mind wanders, simply guide it back, gently, to your breath, to the light. You are safe. You are comfortable. You are exactly where you need to be. As we move into tonight's story, allow yourself to let go even more. Let the words wash over you like a gentle tide. You don't need to follow every detail. Simply receive the story as a gift, a soft companion as you journey toward sleep. And now, let us begin. Nothing lasts forever. Even the longest night must end. Even the deepest cold must eventually yield. And so it is with the Arctic winter. Gradually, almost imperceptibly at first, the darkness begins to lift. The sun, absent for months, begins its slow return. The transition does not happen suddenly. There is no single moment when winter becomes spring. Instead, there is a gradual unfolding, a slow brightening, a subtle warming that takes place over weeks and months. At the North Pole itself, the sun sets on the autumn equinox, around September 21st, and does not rise again until the spring equinox, approximately 6 months later, around March 20th. But the return of light begins before the actual sunrise. First comes civil twilight. This occurs when the sun is between 0 and 6 degrees below the horizon. During civil twilight, there is enough natural light to see clearly without artificial illumination. The sky glows, not with full daylight, but with a soft, diffused brightness. At the North Pole, civil twilight begins roughly 2 weeks before the sun actually breaks the horizon. The sky, which has been dark for months, begins to show color again, deep blues and purples at first, then gradually warming to oranges and pinks. For people and animals that have lived through the polar night, this returning light triggers profound changes. It is not just a physical phenomenon, it is a signal, a promise, a transformation. Human circadian rhythms, which have been disrupted by months of darkness, begin to recalibrate. Sleep patterns become more regular. Mood improves. Even though the temperature may still be extremely cold, -30, -40 degrees or colder, the light itself brings a sense of renewal. The sun's return follows a predictable pattern based on latitude. At the Arctic Circle, 66.5 degrees north, the sun dips below the horizon for exactly 1 day at the winter solstice. As you move north from the Arctic Circle, the period of continuous darkness lengthens. At 70 degrees north, the sun remains below the horizon for about 6 to 5 days. At 80 degrees north, it stays down for approximately 134 days. But the return of light doesn't wait for sunrise. Even before the sun appears, the increasing solar radiation begins to affect the environment. The atmosphere starts to warm, ever so slightly. Snow surfaces, which have been radiating heat into space throughout the winter, begin to receive small amounts of incoming energy. By late February and early March, although the sun has not yet risen at the highest latitudes, daylight is returning rapidly to the lower Arctic regions. The change is dramatic. In Utqiagvik, Alaska, formerly known as Barrow, at 71 degrees north, the sun sets on November 18th and doesn't rise again until January 23rd. That's 6 to 7 days of polar night. But once it returns, the day length increases rapidly, gaining about 20 minutes of daylight every 3 days. This rapid increase in day length is one of the Arctic's most remarkable features. In temperate regions, day length changes gradually and steadily throughout the year. But near the poles, the change is compressed. Once the sun returns, it climbs higher in the sky very quickly, and the hours of daylight accumulate rapidly. By the spring equinox in late March, day and night are equal length everywhere on Earth, 12 hours each. But in the Arctic, this is just the midpoint. Within weeks, there will be more daylight than darkness. By late April, there will be 20 hours of daylight. And by the summer solstice in late June, The sun will not set at all. The polar night will be replaced by the midnight sun. But in these early weeks of returning light, in late February, March, and early April, the Arctic is caught between winter and spring. The temperatures are still bitterly cold. The sea ice reaches its maximum extent in March, covering the greatest area of ocean. Snow depth is at its peak, accumulated over months of winter storms. And yet, the light is returning. The sun is coming back. Life responds immediately to this returning light. Even before humans can perceive much difference, organisms tuned to subtle changes begin their preparations for spring. The ice algae beneath the sea ice, those microscopic organisms we explored in an earlier segment, are among the first to respond. As soon as light levels begin to increase, even slightly, ice algae begin to photosynthesize more actively. Their growth accelerates, starting the process that will lead to the massive bloom in April and May. Arctic foxes, which have spent the winter in their white coats, begin their molt. The white fur, so advantageous for camouflage against snow, gradually gives way to brown or gray summer fur. The change happens slowly, taking several weeks, creating a patchy, mottled appearance during the transition. Ptarmigan, Arctic birds that turned completely white in autumn, also begin to molt, their white plumage gradually being replaced by mottled brown feathers that will better match the summer tundra. Female polar bears, deep in their maternity dens, sense the returning light even through layers of snow. Cubs born in late December or early January, tiny, blind, and helpless at birth, are now growing rapidly on their mother's rich milk. By March, they weigh 10 to 15 kilograms, 20 to 30 pounds, and their eyes are open. They begin to move around the den, playing and exploring their small, dark world. The mother bear has not eaten since autumn. She has survived the entire winter on her fat reserves while producing milk for her cubs. By March, she may have lost half her body weight. But she waits, waiting for the right moment to emerge, waiting for conditions that will give her cubs the best chance of survival. That moment typically comes in late March or early April, when the light has fully returned and temperatures begin their slow rise toward spring levels. The mother bear digs through the snow, creating an opening to the outside world. She emerges first, cautiously, testing the conditions. Then the cubs follow, seeing sunlight and the outside world for the very first time. For the cubs, this is a moment of wonder and disorientation. They have known only the darkness of the den, the warmth of their mother's body, the small enclosed space. Now they are confronted with vast openness, with brilliant white snow extending to the horizon, with wind and cold and space beyond imagination. They stay close to their mother, venturing only short distances at first, gradually building confidence as they explore this new reality. The family remains near the den for several days, allowing the cubs to acclimate and gain strength before beginning the journey to the sea ice where the mother can finally hunt and eat after months of fasting. Across the Arctic, similar transitions are unfolding. Caribou, which spent the winter in the boreal forest at the southern edge of their range, begin to sense the changing light and prepare for their northern migration. Soon they will travel hundreds of kilometers back to their calving grounds on the coastal tundra. Migratory birds, which spent the winter in temperate or even tropical regions, begin their journeys north. Some will travel thousands of kilometers, tens of thousands of kilometers, to reach their Arctic breeding grounds. Arctic terns, which nest in the Arctic during summer, migrate from Antarctica, a round trip of approximately 70,000 kilometers, 4 to 4,000 miles, the longest migration of any animal on Earth. But the Arctic in March and early April is still firmly in winter's grip, despite the returning light. Air temperatures at the North Pole in March average around -32 degrees Celsius, about -26 degrees Fahrenheit. This is actually colder than the average December temperature, because the ocean and ice have continued to lose heat throughout the winter, reaching their coldest point in late winter even as day length begins to increase. The warming happens slowly. The sun, when it finally rises, is low on the horizon. Its rays strike the surface at a shallow angle, spreading their energy over a large area. Much of the incoming solar radiation is reflected by the bright white snow and ice rather than being absorbed. The albedo, the reflectivity, of fresh snow can be 90% or higher, meaning that 90% of the sun's energy bounces back into space without warming the surface. This is why Arctic spring is a prolonged transition rather than a sudden transformation. The sun must not only return, it must climb high enough in the sky to deliver meaningful energy to the surface. And the snow and ice must begin to melt, reducing the albedo and allowing more solar energy to be absorbed. The melt begins at the edges, at the margins where ice meets open water, where snow meets exposed rock. Dark surfaces absorb heat, warm up, and begin to melt the adjacent snow and ice. This creates more dark surface, which absorbs more heat, creating a self-reinforcing cycle called the ice-albedo feedback. But in early spring, this process has barely begun. The landscape is still white, still frozen, still locked in winter cold. What has changed is the light. The light has returned, and with it comes the promise of transformation. As we reach the end of our journey through the Arctic winter, as we imagine the sun finally breaking the horizon after months of absence, there is a sense of completion. We have traveled through the darkness, through the cold, through the silence. We have met the creatures that survive and thrive in conditions that seem impossible. We have seen the beauty in ice crystals and northern lights, in winds and waves, in the persistence of life in the face of extraordinary challenges. The Arctic winter is not a time of death or emptiness. It is a time of quiet endurance, of remarkable adaptations, of systems functioning in balance. It is a reminder that life finds ways to exist in every corner of our planet, that nature's creativity and resilience are boundless. And now, as the light returns, as winter slowly yields to spring, there is a sense of hope, of renewal, of the eternal cycle continuing as it has for millions of years. Let this image rest in your mind, the Arctic sun, low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the ice, the sky painted in shades of pink and gold, the promise of warmth still distant but drawing closer with each passing day. Breathe deeply, slowly, let your breath match the patient rhythm of the seasons, the slow turning from darkness to light, from cold to warmth, from winter to spring. And rest, knowing that after every darkness comes light, after every winter comes spring, that the cycles continue, reliable and eternal. Sleep well.